Hi everyone, it's Mari. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel today. I have part 2 of a double page spread here today. If you didn't catch part 1, I'm going to link it in the description box below. That's the sketch that I'm going to be using from Susan Stringfellow, and that sketch will also be linked up below. And this is the right side of the double page layout here that you can see on the screen. And today I'm going to be working on the left side of this double pager. And I'm going to be using the Pink Fresh Studios Sweet and Simple. I think it's called Simple and Sweet or Sweet and Simple, one of the two. And I'm going to be starting off with this grid paper here that matches up with the grid paper on the right side of the layout. So you can see the cut file there as well on the left side, which is from Just Nick Studio. It's called Hexagon Background. And I'm using that just as a layering piece behind my photographs. And one thing I'd mentioned in part 1 was that you could, if you don't have a cut file machine or a cutting machine, you could just use a piece of pattern paper as another layer, or you wouldn't need that layer at all. Actually, it's something that I just added additional into the sketch. So I'm just measuring out my grid paper here to put onto that left side. Now, one thing I didn't realize when I was cutting this was that the paper that goes on the left is actually longer, or I guess wider. It goes wider horizontally across the page than it does on the right side. So you'll end up seeing me do a little bit of paper piecing here a little bit later, just to extend the size of that paper. So I'm just cutting it down here, and then I am going to stick that down and then build the rest of the layout on the left side on top of that grid paper. So what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to just put a piece of washi tape at the top and bottom of my double page spread here, just to keep them together, so that when I'm trying to build that continuity between the two pages, it's a little bit easier when those two pages are stuck together. So I'm just going to use that washi tape at the top and the bottom. Now, the sketch suggested that these two base pieces of paper on the left and the right, so this grid paper, are actually butted up against the gutter, or the middle where the two pages meet. And I really like that idea. I think it just takes your eye across the double page spread a little bit more. And one of the goals when you're doing a double page spread is to create an eye line from left to right, so that your eyes go right across a double page spread, and that there's a natural progression of your eye movement from one side to the next. So one of the things that's going to create that is this cut file, but mostly what's going to create it is the position of the photographs. So the 3 photos are going to be lined up. Now I'm going to use this Creative Memories punch here that's in a hexagon shape, and it actually is just perfectly the right shape to back my cut file here. So I'm going to cut that out of the same pattern paper that you'll see I used on the right, and it's just a piece of paper from the 6x6 paper pad from that Pink Fresh collection. And I'm just going to take that and I'm going to glue that to the back side of those hexagons there, just using a little bit of liquid adhesive. Now I'm just showing you here that on the left side, the way that the sketch is designed is that there's kind of an elongated section just on the edge here, so that instead of things going on the horizontal like they are on the right, things have more of a vertical justification. So I thought that was really interesting. I didn't want to change that. I like how that looks. And I mean, I guess a person could have just switched that and made that paper go in exactly the same direction as it is on the right, but I didn't mind this. I thought it was just an interesting way to mix it up. And that's the thing about a double page spread. They don't have to be asymmetrical. They don't have to be symmetrical. They can be slightly asymmetrical, or just a little bit different, you know, in how things are lined up. Now, I recommend that when you're trimming a banner where you want it the same on both ends, don't do it like I'm doing it here. I don't know why I did this way. What you should always do is just bring the one end to the other end and then trim it together. I don't know what I was thinking there, but anyhow, so I am going to fix that up here just so that the two ends are roughly the same shape. I mean, they don't have to be exact. No one's ever going to notice if they're not, but I wanted them to be fairly similar. So I'm just going to trim these up, fix them up a little bit, and you can see that I have the banner on the left side, fishtailed on both ends, and that is going to just add a little bit of extra interest. Now those 2 strips of paper I had trimmed up and cut on the previous video because I was cutting those same strips of paper for the right side. So I just trimmed them out for the left side at the same time. So now I'm just going to take a look at the sketch and see where these were kind of placed, or what the idea was behind, or where the placement is. And I'm just going to check that out and get these into roughly the spot where I think they should go. And just going to trim this paper up a little bit. It's a little bit too long, and then I will place that behind that banner piece. So I'll get those just all positioned down. And I did mention on the previous video that one of the reasons why I really like using repositionable adhesive is because oftentimes when I'm scrapping, I like to move things around. I get things down and then I'm like, no, I don't like it there. I just feel like I want to move that and put it into a different position. So you'll see me often doing that when I'm scrapbooking, and I do really love a repositionable adhesive for that reason. The tape runner that I'm using here is called Kokio, and I purchased it at Simon Says Stamp, but there are a lot of repositionable adhesives out there on the market that you can use. Use whatever you have or whatever your favorite adhesive is, but I just happen to really like this one. So I'm just going to put that slightly more to the right than the left. I'm not going to center that on that lemon paper. And now I just want to make sure that this cut file piece is directly in line with the one that's on the right. So I'll just eyeball that here using that grid pattern in the background. You know, that's one of the really great things about using a grid for your bottom layer, and that's that it's really easy to line things up straight because you just use the grid lines, right? So I'm often going to be doing that when I'm working on this specific layout. Now I'm just noticing here that paper is too small. So I do end up going to the rest of that pattern paper, and because of the lines in this paper and where it was cut, it actually does not even show up. It's, you know, it's not obvious, at least I didn't think it was. Now the idea behind having it a little bit wider on the left side is because that's where the journaling is going to go, and there's a few other little details that are suggested there. And of course, because the 2 photos are on the right side, you want something to balance the left side off so that it has some weight to it and some interest and detail, so that all of the all of the energy isn't just going to the right side. You want some of that energy for the left too, right? So I'm going to just piece that here. You won't even be able to see that, and I will continue working on the rest of the layout. So just get that stuck down there and keep going with the rest of the layout. So here you can see I've printed my 3rd photograph off here, still in the same size as on the right side. This photo and the other 2 photos are printed at 5.5 by 3.5. So just slightly smaller than 4 by 6. I've printed them in black and white, and you'll just see me lining up the photos on both sides. I will try to attempt to use my T-square ruler, and then I'm like, no, it is not long enough. Clearly, it is only 12 inches long, which I knew before I even brought it out. So anyhow, I'm just taking my other ruler and I'm just measuring from the bottom of the layout to make sure that the photographs on the right are at the same distance from the bottom as the photograph on the left. So now I'm just taking a look and deciding what else I want to do. So at this point, I just go to my computer and I go into Microsoft Word and print off my journaling strips. I just use Microsoft Word. I use 11-point font all the time. And this time I used a font called Special Elite, and that's usually the font style that I use. It looks like it's typed with an old typewriter. I really like that. I think it's interesting, and it is a font that I downloaded off the internet. I don't know if I was on dafont.com or what site, but if you really like this, you can just Google Special Elite Font and it will take you to a website where you can download that for free. Now what I'm doing is just taking some liquid adhesive. Now that I have those strips all cut apart in the same to the same measurement. I'm using those grid lines once again to put down my journaling strips so that they're lined up all nice and straight. So once again, yay for the grid lines on that grid paper. They just really just simplify a lot of stuff when it comes to getting things straight. So I'm just going to glue those down, and the story that I'm telling here is about this rehearsal dinner. So the 3 photographs are of Bailey and Brady opening up a bottle of champagne the evening of their rehearsal dinner the day before their wedding. So we went to the forestry farm and actually before we went to the forestry farm, I'm just journaling here, we went to the place where the reception was going to be and dropped off a bunch of stuff. We had a lady hired to do the setup, so she was doing all of that, and we just took her the stuff. And then we went to Brown's social house and had some drinks, and then we went out to their house, the kids' house, after the rehearsal for the dinner. And during that time, they opened a bottle of champagne. So I'm just documenting about that. Now, this strip of paper that I'm adding in here echoes another strip of paper exactly like it on the right side that's underneath that green horizontal banner. And it's just got some pinks and yellows in it again, and it also is a kind of a floral. So there's a few places where I have floral here. Now I was going to use that beautiful puffy title there up at the top, which would be like it is on the right, but I decided to mix it up a little bit and change the position of that. So I'm also going to do a little cluster using the other half of that label that I cut in half from the right side. I'm going to create a little cluster there on the left side as well. So I want to create a little banner that's like the banner that's on the right. I'm going to just trim out a piece of this teal paper and cut out a little banner, fishtail this little square piece of paper, and there you have your DIY banner embellishment. Super easy to do and does not cost any money other than the price of your pattern paper. So I'm just going to trim that up, and then just to create the fishtail, I just cut the square right in the center and then up the sides into that V shape. And that'll be ready to place over top of that label, and then to start layering a little cluster in that area. So I'm going to stick that down, and then I've also cut an additional hexagon out of that same pattern paper that the other hexagons are backing that cut file. And I'm going to pop one of those up on some foam adhesive to put over top of that banner. I'm also going to use one of those large enamel circle stickers, and you'll see me putting down one in green, and then I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, green on green, that's not a good idea. I wanted to switch up the color there a little bit. So I'll just take that green one off, and I will go over to the sheet that has those on it, and I will take the yellow one and put the yellow one on there as well, or instead, just since it's more of a contrasting one and still has the colors that are in the rest of the layout. So I like that. And now that little cluster has the pinks, the teals, and the yellows, and a little bit maybe even, oh yes, and the blue on the label. So now I'm just taking a look, and I'm thinking I would like to add a little bit of gold into this layout. And so I took one of the die cut pieces and put it below the photograph there. You can probably see that. And now I want to, because there's some gold in that die cut piece, I'm thinking I should also add some gold in some other places on the layout. So this collection has this phrase puffy sticker sheet that's all gold elements. And there's some really adorable little gold hearts. And of course, you know, this is a layout about love. And so I thought, well, it's fitting to put some hearts on this layout. However, I feel like I've never met a layout that didn't look great with hearts on it, or at least very few. So I'm going to just take and put a sprinkling of these little puffy hearts on both sides. Now you see that I've changed the puffy title that said beautiful from that to the black word happy on the left side. And I've also added a little chipboard embellishment that's a blue circle above the journaling, and then another little puffy sticker. I wanted to add a little bit of floral to the left side because there's a couple of florals on the right. So I added that floral puffy sticker to that blue chipboard circle cluster that's above the journaling. Now I just added a few enamel dots here and there. And now I'm taking that Shimmers Vibes in Cold as Ice again, which I used on the right side, and I'm just going to tap on a few little bits and splatters of this color as well. And I got a really big gob on it on beside that puffy flower above the journaling, and I just really did not like that. So I sopped it up a little bit, and then I ended up moving the gold heart to cover that up. Wow, the genius that is my covering my mistakes. Anyways, I'm just gonna take and move that little puffy heart and put it over top of there. And then I just moved the enamel dots. Guys, this is it. This is the culmination of my double page spread. I hope you enjoyed this. And please don't forget to leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts about double pagers, what you'd like to see on my channel here, more double pagers, no future double pagers, whatever you'd like to see, let me know. I would love to know. And if you like this, I'd love for you to give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell. Bye guys, have an amazing day.